Every preseason, a few teams dominate the national conversation, and it's the usual suspects we pencil in for March every year. But this year, Kentucky's name is out there, but they're not quite getting mentioned in the same breath. They're ranked inside the top 10, they're loaded with talent depth, they have momentum, yet somehow they're still treated like a step below the true contenders. Now, is that fair, or are people quietly missing what's right in front of them? Let's talk about it. When Mark Pope took over in Lexington, nobody really knew how fast he was going to turn it around. Turns out it was pretty fast. In year one, Kentucky hit more threes than any other team in program history. They knocked off a string of top 15 opponents, and you could feel the buzz coming back. It's the sense that Rupp was starting to believe again. Now, it wasn't perfect. The defense certainly had nights where it was leaky, but you could see what he was building. And there's a purpose in the style. There's pace. I love the spacing and ball movement, all the stuff that travels in March. And it got me thinking. Every year when teams cut down the net or make a deep run, they tend to follow a pattern, almost like it's a recipe. And the same ingredients, they show up year in year. And as I look at Kentucky this year, their roster is heading into a really good direction, and they have all of those ingredients. So the first ingredient in this Final Four recipe, you really need a lead guard who can settle the game for you. I think every championship team eventually is going to get into a situation where everything has to slow down. The crowd's going to be loud. The pressure is super real. And somebody's got to be the one to tie it all together. And that's where your point guard just matters more than anything else. You need someone who's going to take control, who's going to, establish the tempo, protect your possession, and get the ball to guys who you can go win it. For Kentucky, it's going to be Jaland Lowe. Now, he comes in from Pitt, and what stood out to me immediately when I watched his film is he controls the game. He doesn't rush. He plays at his own pace. And it's a calmness that really bleeds into the rest of the team. Now, I'm not saying he's just a caretaker. He's certainly someone who's capable of scoring and getting his own buckets. But Mark Pope's system is all about movement and spacing. It's a constant flow. And Lowe fits that perfectly. Now, he can initiate action. He can slide off the ball and still be a threat. Now, taking a step back, when you look at teams that make deep runs in March, almost all of them have a guard like this. Someone who's steady, confident, multidimensional. It's the kind of guy who can help you get organized, but then still make a play when he has to. So Kentucky has that now, and it's a massive, massive box to check off when you're talking about putting some Final Four in your DNA. So ingredient two in this Final Four recipe is you need wings who are capable of changing the game on both ends of the floor. Now, every team, again, that has made a deep run, they have them. Those long, they're physical, they're athletic wings who blow up possessions on one end and then break them open on the other. They're connectors for the team. They set the tone, and they're guys who make you feel really dangerous. And for Kentucky, that's going to start with Otega Oweh. He's a menace defensively, strong and disciplined. He plays through contact. But what separates him the most is just how he turns that defense into offense. When he gets a stop or a deflection, the dude's a blur in transition. He finishes at the rim. He finishes through bodies. It's highlight reel stuff. And you can feel the momentum swing when he's locked in. And then this year, enter Cam Williams. He brings it to the other side of the equation. He's smooth and confident, has great size, gives the team a real scoring punch from the wing. He's the kind of guy who I think is going to heat up in a hurry. He can tilt a game when you need a bucket. And it's not just those two. Kentucky's built depth on the perimeter. They've got multiple bodies they can throw at you, multiple ways they can hurt you. But when you study Final Four teams over the years, like what we're talking about today, there's a clear pattern. They have a wing who can defend, they have some guys who can create chaos, and they have guys who can keep the offense flowing. Now, Kentucky has that balance now, and it gives them the versatility that they're going to need as they go through this. So ingredient three in this Final Four recipe, you need legit front court depth. And we're not just talking big bodies. You need quality bigs who are going to change games for you. Because in March, your front line is going to get tested. You're going to get foul trouble, physical matchups, guys get tired. It happens. Teams that survive, they have multiple guys they can trust. And Kentucky's done just that. Brandon Garrison gives them a foundation. He's strong and polished, and he's proven he can be an anchor for you when he's out there. I've actually got a whole video on him and why I think he's primed for a breakout. Feel free to check that out. But the short version is this: he's got the pedigree and tools, and I think he's going to be a stabilizing presence, and especially one that a contender needs. Then, you've got a new big, Andrea Yelovich. He's an international big with immense upside. He stretches the floor, he can pass, and he brings a skill set that I think complements a guy like Garrison perfectly. He's giving you another dimension. I don't think he's a backup necessarily. I think he's a different look to everything that you have going on elsewhere. Then you start talking about Mohamed Diabate. I never say that right. Who brings ruggedness? He's tough. I think he's physical. He's definitely willing to mix it up. You watch film at Alabama, he does that. He's just the energy piece that is going to make you harder to play against, if that makes sense. And again, there are other pieces in the front court, and we'll touch on a few later. But these three just stand out to me because of how naturally their games fit together and they're cohesive. So they give Kentucky something you don't see everywhere. It's depth with a variety. And I think, again, you look back at other Final Four teams of the past, and that's the pattern. They've got multiple front court combinations they can go to, a mix of size and athleticism and skill, and that travels, man. That gets you deep into March. So now that Kentucky has that, it's a massive advantage for them. So ingredient 4 in this Final Four recipe, you need multiple pieces that have high upside and can make a real leap. So to go from a contender to a champion, you can't just hope that one guy breaks out. You have to have a few of them that all have the potential to blow past the expectation. So Kentucky has that. You take Jasper Johnson, for instance, 6'5" guard. He comes in with a scoring pedigree. He can play a lot of roles on offense. He has, the ability to make tough shots. He's got fans excited about his ceiling already. Then you factor in Malachi Moreno, a true big that has size and mobility and upside. Someone that has all the tools. He's got a rim presence, seems to have good instincts from the film that I've watched. And I think he has a chance to stretch the floor as well. And moving on, then you add in another freshman, Braden Hawthorne, who he's a different dimension. 6'8", he's long, projects as another one that could be a wing disruptor. And he gives Kentucky just another gear to shift to on the perimeter. But then there's the one I want to lean into, and that's Jayden Quaintance. For me, he's the real wild card. He's 6'10", huge upside, all the talent in the world. It gives you chills, honestly. Now, he's recovering from an injury, but if he can return the form, he might be just that breakout star that Kentucky needs. Now, again, this is another guy I've done a full breakdown on. You can watch the video there, but the potential is off the charts. And these aren't just 4 cherry-picked names. For me, they're the kind of pieces you look back on and say, okay, these are the cats who made a difference for us. So if you study teams, again, that make deep runs without fail, someone's stepping up for them in March. And it's someone you didn't really anticipate. So Kentucky has those candidates, and that's big. It's how you build an unlimited ceiling for a season, right? So they've checked the boxes on stability and balance. Now these wild cards can kind of shift and tell you just how dangerous can this team be. So when you put all this together, you have a lead guard who can control the game. You have wings that can disrupt on both ends of the court. You have a deep and versatile front court, and then you have high upside guys who can raise your ceiling. It's hard not to see a pattern. And for me, this is why Final Four teams look like they're balanced. They're built to survive different styles. They have players who can win games in different ways. Kentucky just checks those boxes. And people can talk about the other Blue Bloods. That's fine. There are other people who will be preseason favorites and the usual storylines, but if you want to study how tournament teams are constructed, this group fits the mold for me, maybe better than anyone's willing to admit. So yeah, they're top 10 good. That's nationally recognized, but they might be Final Four, good as well. And that's my case. Now, I do want to hear yours. Where do you think Kentucky stacks up nationally? Are they being overlooked, or is the hype, ahead of reality at this point? Drop your thoughts below. Hit subscribe if you want more. I do deep dive breakdowns like this on several of the blue blood and top programs across the country. There'll be more to come as we get closer to basketball season. But thank you for being here. I appreciate you watching the video, and I hope to see you on the next one.